Data wants to bend. Kalar takes command of the Tong, and Worf does some wrist sniffing. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 20, The Emissary, television story by Richard Manning and Hans Beimler, teleplay by Richard Manning and Hans Beimler, based on an unpublished story by Thomas H. Calder, directed by Cliff Bole. There's a lot to say there. This was June 24th, 1989. Where were you? What's up, Cirroc? We got to act serious now.
That's a mouthful right there.
Everybody at home, we were having our laughs ahead of time, and it seems like they might have carried on into the recording. This is an episode that is sponsored by our very good friend War Dogheim, aka Bill Erickson, out in Montana, one of our favorite buddies out in the blue skies of Montana. Thank you very much for sponsoring this one, Bill.
Yeah, we salute.
How are you, Cirroc?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Yeah, this is not what I thought when I heard the episode titled The Emissary. You know, I'm like, oh, this is going to be something.
That's true. I thought I was going to come out the gate and be like, Deep Space Nine, episode 20, The Emissary. But no, it's Next Generation.
Next Generation episode. And they decided to give Worf a little bit of love interest. I like the woman that they cast for this role. I thought she was strong and assertive and, had the right balance of human and Klingon, I thought, mixed in her performance and in the way she carried herself in the episode. I liked her performance.
Mm-hmm. Lot to talk about there. But before we do that, everybody at home, please make sure you are liking this video. You're subscribed to the channel. If you're listening in, please give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. If you are watching this on YouTube and you want to know where you can find us for an audio podcast, just go to the Seventh Rule, wherever you find your podcasts. Check that out. And you can also go to patreon.com/the Seventh Rule to get all of this quality content and support this radical show. Anyway, so thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate y'all. Show can't happen without you. That's Susie Plaxon. And she was also the actress that played Dr. Salar. Remember the Vulcan doctor that went down on the away mission maybe 10 or 15 episodes ago?
Yeah.
She was just in that one episode. They never used her again. The story goes, I don't remember who told us this exactly, but the story goes that they were planning on using Dr. Salar more often. Susie Plaxon as Dr. Salar, this Vulcan doctor, planning on using her more often. And she was going to be originally a love interest for Worf. They were, eventually they're just going to keep reusing her and she's going to end up becoming a love interest for Worf. So I think it's really funny and coincidental that they nixed that character, but then they introduced Kalar, who is a love interest for Worf, but is played by the same actress. So they're like, we don't care what the character is. We just want this actress to be Michael Dorn's love interest, or maybe he wanted that. I don't know.
That's funny. That reminds me of the Lower Decks episode we just reviewed where Rutherford is like, seriously, he looks exactly like Tom Paris. When they were referring to Nick Locarno, right? So this is kind of one of those Nick Locarno, Tom Paris moments. The character comes back, the exact same person.
Yeah. So here is Dr. Salar. There she is. You'll remember her.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a shame that...
I kind of liked her as Salar, too.
I know. It really is a shame they didn't keep Dr. Salar. I found myself thinking that is a perfect recurring character, a secondary doctor, right? Because there are medical episodes, and Pulaski needs another medical professional to bounce these thoughts or discussions or arguments off of other than a captain or an engineer or a Klingon. It'd be great to have a recurring medical professional. And I thought it would have been a great character. And I don't know why they didn't end up keeping her or what happened there, but I would have loved to see a dozen episodes with Dr. Solar, honestly.
Yeah, another kind of reminder here, flashback, not to keep bringing up Lower Decks for those of you that haven't watched it, but they just recently added a Vulcan character in T'Lyn on that show. And the presence of a Vulcan on a show, I believe, gives you an entryway to a certain kind of humor, a certain kind of seriousness that they bring. It's good for drama, and actually turns out to be good for comedy as well. But I think it's actually really good for drama, and I like the way Susie Plaxton played that that Vulcan character. Also did a very similar job with this particular portrayal too, as well. This Kalar, I thought she was fantastic. I thought she held her own. She gave Worf the perfect match of his energy. Like whatever he brought, she brought more of it to the table. I just, a little bit not sold on the badass aspect of her in that little cave fighting scene. It wasn't the best sold. It didn't sell me on the choreography as much,
Yeah, Star Trek's known to look, they have 1 week to shoot something. And so that doesn't give a lot of time, one would think, for stunt choreography. I mean, stunt coordinators and stunt people would love to have an entire day or two to work out, fight scenes and stunt choreography. But yeah, I thought the same. I loved the aliens that she fought. I thought that was really cool. There was like a buggy armadillo turtle guy.
She fought Skeletor from He-Man. She's fought a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
And like a giant tribble or something. It was kind of But we didn't
the Wookiee or the guy.
The Ewok. Yeah. She fought an Ewok, a Ninja Turtle, and a Skeletor. But didn't we see these before in another episode? I kind of swore I saw that a Skeletor.
The Skeletor guy, absolutely. We've already seen him it's a snorting Skeletor too, which is weird. We saw him at least once or twice already in TNG. We've definitely seen him in Deep Space Nine as well. I think it's just one of their standard, battle aliens. I feel like we may have seen the Wookiee Ewok guy, the feathered Bigfoot guy. I'm like, those feathers are not. It's gonna be hard for you to hide in the jungle if you got feathers sticking out everywhere. Yeah, feathered Bigfoot. But we've definitely seen those two, especially the skull face guy.
I'm pretty sure we've seen it. The Ninja Turtle guy too. Yeah. No, they just recycled these outfits. Maybe it's just hologram aliens to fight program. That they just upload whenever they need to. So it's the same, aliens. But they did look familiar. And it's funny because I'd never seen anybody cosplay.
I was just going to say that would be the best cosplay is somebody playing one of those, because that's such a deep cut where people would be like, wait a minute. How do I know? What is this? What are you? And
how is that Star Trek? And it's like, because it's Skeletor looking. It doesn't look that Star Trek when you see it to me. That's one of the things that makes it stand out, actually, because it doesn't appear to be that Star Trek-y. It feels like it's more He-Man-y or something, different category.
Somebody's got to cosplay that. That would be amazing, because it would be such a deep cut that there'd be some Star Trek fans that would recognize it. They would definitely be like, wait a minute. I know what that is. I've seen it in 8 Hollow Simulator episodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a deep cut. Very deep cut. I like it. But no, I mean, the episode started off with the poker game. And, that's A theme that I think we said Melinda brought in, Snodgrass, if I'm not mistaken, was the poker element to this show.
That's right.
And so now we're seeing that element, being revisited and used as a tool to really set us up in the storyline of Worf and this episode when he talks about Klingons never bluffing.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that essentially that was a kind of a theme for the rest of the episode, whether he was bluffing with the woman that he, was having this relationship with, and not bluffing. He wasn't bluffing in that case. And then the eventual bluff of the Klingon ship that they ran into at the end when he pretends to be having taken over the Enterprise and whatnot. So I like the way that they use the Klingons never bluff intro with the cards and the poker to really set us up for the storyline that they were going to keep, using that as a baseline.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They're getting better at having the little opening slice of life thing relate to the episode. Because remember, we've seen it a few times where they have this slice of life thing where they're, Captain Picard's going, oh, look at the orbit of this planet around the, and it's got nothing to do with the episode. It's just totally like they just dropped it right in. But this one did. And there were a couple things there. Number one is, if it is in fact true that Klingons never bluff, they'd be terrible poker players, especially if they make it known. Now, that could be a bluff. Who knows? Maybe he's playing 3D chess and he's got mind control. But as soon as he said we never bluff, I'd be like, oh, cool, let's play again then. This will be great. But the other thought was that poker scene felt like that opening sequence was longer than they usually are for those opening kind of scenes. It dragged on longer and longer. And I actually was really happy about that because I was like, I'm enjoying seeing this banter, seeing how this plays out. And it really felt like it, I feel like nowadays they would cut that so fast. They would cut it in half. They'd just be like, get to the point. But it really dragged on. And I was happy about that because I'm like, I like to see, these characters, especially Dr. Pulaski, that, we don't see a ton of throughout the series, obviously. And so it's nice to see a little bit of her personality in there. Mm-hmm. There's no Troy. There's no Guinan in there. It's just kind of Pulaski and the bros. And I really liked that scene. I was glad that they incorporated it. And the first thing I thought, was Melinda Snodgrass. There she is, leaving her imprint on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I did like that opening, and I did like the whole watching Data dealing, for example, and calling the next game, which is a 7-card stud kind of game. Just those little things. I wanted to see how Data would deal, like how he actually moved the cards around. It's kind of a art form to just dealing cards in itself. So I wanted to see how he dealt the cards. And watching his comfort zone with shuffling and dealing was very fun to watch. The kind of interchange between them, it makes you feel a slice of life not associated with their mission, duty, and their responsibilities, as part of Starfleet. It's just like, this is them kind of, kickback mo with sandals on at the beach, just being themselves with a beer or something. This is their fun mode. And I like to see that kind of the exchanges between them when they're not in this serious kind of like all hands on deck type of mode,
Cirroc,
so I did like it.
You seem like a poker player. Do you play poker?
I do play poker.
Yeah.
That's why I get a lot of joy out of it. Yeah, I play poker. I play Texas Hold'em, which is a no limit game. And the game that they were playing was a 7-card stud, which is a little bit different because you have 2 cards face down, 4 cards face up, and then the last card face down. So you have 3 down and 4 up. And then people have to guess what hand you can make out of your cards because you have 4 exposed and 3 down. That was the second game that Data decided to play, which was 7 card stud. That was when he switched the game up. But prior to that, they were playing, I think, 5 card draw, and that's where Worf showed that he had a full house with aces over queens.
Yeah, the only real poker I would ever play was with Halloween candy when I was a kid. We would play, and we would bet candy. And so we'd ante up with like some shit candy, like the orange and black wrapped ones, or some kind of candy that, whatever, that's the ante. And then we would just bet with, the biggest bet would be like a candy bar, and then so you kind of figure like the hierarchy of candies, like some of the big ones would be like worth 5 of these, whatever others.
Yeah.
That was always a fun thing. And I bluffed like it. All I did was bluff because I'm not a Klingon.
Well, and that goes back to your point about Worf saying Klingons never bluff. If you never bluff, you will not be that good in poker. You have to bluff. That's the whole point. You have to bluff. That's how you get good. Because otherwise, everybody knows they know you have a good hand when you have a good hand. And they know you have a bad hand when you have a bad hand.
Than not bluffing is them knowing that you never bluff. Because once they know you never bluff,
but I think he's just made that up because that's what I thought was clever about the story. Towards the end, he does do a bluff. He came up with the idea, which he shot out to Picard about, hey, let's make it look like the Klingons won the war and we're running the Federation. It was a beautiful bluff. It was a beautiful play. And he was bluffing with the other guy that he was looking across, like, I'm going to destroy you. It was great.
He very much bluffed that guy hard. And I will submit, Kalar also bluffed, not just in that instance, but when she acted like their mating meant nothing. Remember, she admitted when she was leaving, she's like, actually, it did mean something, you big lug. So she was bluffing too with Worf. So those Klingons are always bluffing, those rascals. They just
it's a game of bluff. They love it. They love playing the whole gamesmanship of, not letting your opponent know what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of their gamesmanship. But yeah, I thought that who was this new woman that was at the helm next to Data too? Did you pay attention to her in the beginning?
Yeah, she had like one line, and I wrote it down because I was like, "Whoa, she got a line!" I'm always happy for somebody that gets like one line because I'm like, "Is that somebody that we need to pay attention to?" Is it? I don't know if we ever see her again. We'll have to look that up. She says, "Here's her quote: Course laid in, Captain." I bet she practiced that all night the night before. I would have. I've been like, I got 4 lines. I am not going to. Can you imagine? Everybody, they say this line, and she's like, course, look, shoot, do it again. They'd be like, seriously? Seriously? But yeah, I don't know. We could check to see if she's ever back, but that's the first I remember seeing her.
Well, it's funny because they sprinkle us with these characters. The Latina character that was with Geordi a couple episodes back. What was her name? Selena?
Yeah,
she was an engineer.
Selena Gomez. Or not Selena Gomez. Sonia Gomez.
Sonia
Gomez, yes.
So we see these characters pop up like Sonia Gomez, and you're expecting to see more of them because they get lines, and then you're like, no, I guess not.
So this lady, the character's name was Ensign Clancy, maybe named after Tom Clancy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a good guess with Star Trek fans that are writing this. Oh, she got 2 episodes. What is the other one? Okay, so we have already seen her. Season 2, episode 3, Elementary Dear Data. She played Ensign Clancy in that one as well. Okay. She's got quite the extensive IMDb page. She's done a lot of stuff, but those are the only 2 episodes in any Star Trek. She also did some pretty cool things in Seinfeld. Everybody can go check her out. Her name is Anne Ramsey. Anne Ramsey. Oh, wait. Oh, she was also in A League of Their Own. That is pretty awesome. Oh, yeah. It looks like she was the lady that had like this gigantic bruise on her hip in that movie. Great movie. Great movie. From Sliding, I think it was. Anyway.
Very uninteresting that they would, 17 episodes later, bring her back. Like she was in the third episode of this season.
Yeah.
And we're on the 20th episode. So like 17 episodes later, they're like, hey, we have this line that somebody has to say. What about that Ensign Clancy lady? Like, that's strange to me, right?
They're like, course laid in, Captain. There's only one person that can give me Clancy. We need Clancy.
Yeah.
But, sir, that was 4 months ago. I don't care. Track her down. We need Clancy. Ensign Clancy must come back for this line and then never again.
What about Sonia Gomez? Now we've had enough of Sonia. Bring Clancy back.
What about Dr. Solar? Susie Plaxton can't do 2 roles? Can't she?
Yeah. So, yeah, those are some of the interesting things that kind of pop out to me when I'm watching these episodes. Like, how does this random woman get these lines, and then you never see her again? And probably not see her again after this point. And it's funny because you think when you're booking the job as an actor and, they're like, hey, the people over at Star Trek really liked you and they're calling you back. You're like, oh, wow. Okay. So they're going to probably use me a lot more often now because, I've just gotten a call back. My agent says they liked me and they want me to play the same character or maybe even a different character. So you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get some work. And then they're like, no, just that other, it's just these 2 times.
I'm also looking up, there's this guy that is like in every episode, apparently, of the first 3 seasons of Next Generation. And he goes by the character of Youngblood, Ensign Youngblood. And the actor's name is James G. Becker. So he's in this episode and like 39 others. Jeez. James G. Becker, Youngblood. So check him out. Wow.
Yeah, you got to pull that picture up. I got to see that guy. What does he look like? You've been seeing him all this whole time? He's been in around?
I don't, to be honest, I mean, if he's in 40 episodes, I don't even really recognize him, but here he is. Pull him up. There he is. That's Ensign Youngblood. I feel like I remember him. He did something in the first season, maybe with Worf. I think there was something going on with him and Worf or him and the Traveler or something in the first season. Because I remember looking him up once before, actually. There he is hiding in the corner.
Yeah, I've never seen that
dude. We've seen him like 30 times.
Not once did I see him. He must be a lower decks guy.
Speaking of which, everybody, we've got to hop to our break in just a moment here. But we also want to tell you that if you are enjoying our podcast, listening in on the 7th Rule, wherever you listen to podcasts, you will also love the 7th Rule 2, wherever podcasts are found, because that's where we review Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, Discovery, Picard, Prodigy, all the new Star Trek. The 7th Rule 2, that's the 7th Rule, and the number 2, wherever podcasts are found. So definitely check that out, subscribe to that, and give us a 5-star rating. All right, let's jump to that break real quick, because there's a lot more to talk about with K'Ehleyr and how I think she kind of paved the way for a Voyager character. A lot of people might know what I'm talking about, but we'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton. Doing his Arsenio Hall impression. All right. The most awkward Arsenio Hall interview ever was when he interviewed the Olsen twins, and they were like 5 years old. And that poor guy, they were so shy. They didn't say a word. He was trying to get them to talk, and they were just like, he even brought like a ball out. He's like, let's throw a ball, like something. This poor guy was like, how am I going to fill 15 minutes? But anyway, good old Arsenio Hall. Here are the trivioids of the week. Data wants to bend. Worf's pile is bigger than Data's. Dr. Pulaski calls Worf handsome. Smiling breaks Worf's concentration. A Class 8 probe is just over 2 meters long. K'Ehleyr keeps her temper under control. Worf does not appreciate being interrupted. The Enterprise guest quarters needs a new coffee table. Lieutenant Worf has calisthenics holodeck program. Worf likes to sniff wrists, and K'Ehleyr takes command of her tongue. All right. The it's the HMS Tong, I believe. That tong to tong, tong, tong.
Tong to tong, tong, tong. The Tong Song, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wow.
Anyway, do you know B'Elanna Torres, played by Roxanne Dawson? That is a Star Trek Voyager. She's half Klingon and half human, very much in this mold of K'Ehleyr. K'Ehleyr kind of, I feel like, trailblazed for her, and that, because she made such an interesting character, especially that she could play nice, but she definitely had to keep her temper under wraps. Do you think that she played that well?
Yes. I thought she played it very well. Biracial kids have to find ways to embrace both sides of their identity and find a way to balance those things into the one body that they are in. And I think that she did a good job of kind of elaborating on that kind of a storyline. Somebody who's biracial, who's got this side of them that's, has anger issues, or ancestral traditional anger issues that are come from the Klingon way of living, and then her trying to also balance the human side of her and that aspect of finding her identity and her place inside of the Federation and what she's trying to do with her life. So I think there's a balance there. I thought she did a great job of portraying that particular balance. And I also thought that in her performance, I felt a lot of the customary and traditional ways of life weighing heavy on somebody who's not willing to play along with those customs and traditions, somebody who's more progressive or liberal as opposed to somebody who's more conservative and based in their, longstanding cultural traditions. And I felt like that was one of the big dichotomies at play watching this storyline. She was pushing for a more progressive kind of free-spirited, woman's liberation, and he was trying to stake his claim as, this is mine, and now you belong to me, in that kind of property type of way that the Klingons express themselves in. And so I thought that was another good argument being made about the ways of the past, the tradition, versus somebody who's trying to trailblaze in a new way, something we've never seen, somebody who's Klingon and human. So she's trailblazing what that identity is like for her. And it doesn't encompass being fully bought into the Klingon way of life and traditions. So I thought that was a very good story that they brought up.
Yeah, a couple really good points there. I'm glad you brought up the biracial thing, because at first I was kind of like, okay, so she's half Klingon, half human, but she's acting very human. She looks Klingon. She's got the ridges, she got the height, but she's playing nice with humans. She's chilling with them. She's talking like them. She's hanging out with them, right? But when she was alone with Worf in that holodeck program, she definitely courted him. They definitely courted each other in the very Klingon way. At least I certainly don't recognize that as a human way. Maybe I've been doing it wrong, but that's what I saw was a lady that was acting 100% Klingon in that way. But then, yeah, later on, she was like, yeah, but I'm not going to marry you, bro. Calm down. What are you, 13, Worf? Yo, yeah, we're getting married. Oh, we kissed and I made my palms bleed from my nails. Ooh, you sniffed my wrists better than anybody ever has. But here's the question I had with that was when they were talking about 6 years ago having a past. I assumed that meant they mated 6 years ago, because she was always like, that's not what you said 6 years ago, big boy. And she kept saying all this kind of stuff. But then when they mated, he's like, now you must marry me, which tells me they didn't mate 6 years ago. Otherwise, he would have said that 6 years ago. So then I was just confused. And so what was their past 6 years ago? Did they just flirt a lot or sniff wrists or what?
Yeah, they did a lot of wrist sniffing and bloody hand action, but there was no actual. He didn't pull out his batlet. No, she mentioned something to that effect of like, we didn't go all the way. I thought I heard that somewhere in the episode where they didn't go all the way the first time, and I think she said because you didn't want it to Worf, and he's like, I didn't want it. So there was a little mention of them kind of having this chemistry, but not actually acting on it or going all the way. So there was a little, I thought, backstory on that. That, the thing is, Worf needed some action because he's walking around. He sees Riker. He's laying down all kinds of, new star bases over there for the Federation.
Yeah. Riker gets to walk around showing his nipple wherever he wants. Worf has nipples. He wants to show them. Even
Data got some. Yeah. Even an android got some. Like, literally.
Even Wes kind of did too, right? The boy.
Right.
Oh, man. Even Troy was getting married.
Yes. Yes. Everybody's gotten some action. They even gave, they gave Geordi, I thought Sonia was his, like, somebody that he was going to have like some kind of interest in, but that didn't last. But
poor Geordi.
But yeah, Worf needed some love, man. What the heck? He's built up. So he finally found someone that is his match, and that turns him on, and that I see that flash forward, because we know Worf later on, and with Dax. He's really turned on by a woman with fight in her. He actually likes to see them physically fighting, and when that turns him on, the actual fighting part. That's why he snuck up in the program, like, let me see what's going on up in here.
Yeah, Klingons are like that, and Worf is another person that is divided between two races, because he's 100% Klingon, but he was raised by humans since the age of 5. So he is assimilated with the humans. He acts fairly human, but he still has these very Klingon instincts. He still tries to hang on to the Klingon rituals. He still plays with the pain stick. He still has all of these things. But if you'll notice, he's different than Klingons. Like, when we get to know Klingons more in later years of Next Generation and all over Deep Space Nine, they're kind of a rowdy, merry bunch. They're not just always angry. They're not always pouting. They're like kind of gregarious. They're laughing, they're drunk, they're partying, whatever. Worf's never like that. So he's still kind of this conflicted character, where he's clearly not acting fully Klingon, but he doesn't feel comfortable with the humans because he has the Klingon instincts. So yeah, I think it's great that he finally got to release some tension rather than just beating up on Skeletor. Skeletor's like, somebody give me a break. Somebody do something about this guy. He keeps putting on level 10 and beating the hell out of me. This is too much.
Yeah. I mean, she she was a very good match for him, because she also has that kind of double experience living in, kind of two worlds. And you're right. I feel like the Klingons have a very Viking type of
Mm,
feel to them, right? Like you just, like drinking out of big mugs and just eating chicken legs and just like doing some, Viking stuff. That's what I really feel like, they're the future version of that. Um, or the Mongols, like, Genghis Khan and whatnot. So there's
right.
different ways to perceive it, but something in that vein of, you know, pillage and loot and be
And
on your
drink
way.
and party, yeah.
Yeah,
And tell
pretty much.
stories of
And
battles
tell
and
stories.
dying in battle. And Worf's just like, well, I like to mope. I like to pout and huff and puff. He also huffs and puffs a lot. He's like, well, I do not believe, Captain, that I should be walking over here when I am the chief security. And Picard's like, Mr. Wolf, that's not. Well, I'm just saying that. He's always kind
It's a
of.
cover.
But yeah,
He's
maybe
a very
Kalar could
powerful.
bring the Klingon out of him. Maybe he just needs to be around more Klingons because I mean he's clearly got to be unhappy. His best friend right now is Wesley. That's kind of a
Yeah.
ripoff.
I want to give a little shout out to the costume designers. I thought that Kalar's outfits were banging. I mean, they were rocking.
And both of them when they were Klingons, they were they looked really cool. They looked really cool. They looked a little too clean and unused to me, which happens a lot with costumes because it takes time to weather them and all that. But they looked really cool, really sharp, I thought.
Yeah, I really love the red Michael Jackson outfit that she had in the image behind you. Kind of reminded me of like a nice Beat It video. Uh, yeah, with the gold flares on the arms
Yeah,
and different things.
yeah.
Really cool. And then I really, really love the outfit that she went into the holodeck with the pink and black kind of tiger print, just really unusual looking fabric. And they also draped on top of it this black metallic kind of, you know, I would say it looks like something you would wear in archery or swordsmanship or something, but it looked really cool, like a battle sheath over her pink and black um, leotard fitting outfit. I thought that was just really cool. I love the texture, the design. I love the fit on her. I like that she was, her height was really something that stood out as well, just
Yep.
because she's so tall, and it made sense as the opposite of Worf, who's also, a big guy. So even her nail polish, they used a nice little brown kind of coat of color on her nail polish. So I felt like the details were done well on Kalar's character.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a good picture of it in the holodeck, but I can't really. But here's a decent one of her in red here.
Yeah,
A few good ones.
yeah, that's the outfit, the pink and black one right there. The calisthenics workout outfit.
Hmm.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, definitely her own style. And also, we're looking at summer now, summer of 1989. So you could see, the Michael Jackson influence, as you mentioned. And we're kind of moving away from the shoulder pads of the 80s and more into this kind of look, and pretty soon we'll be getting like 90s fashion. I really love to see how like the 1989 fashion or 1987 versus 1992, or then Jake shows off the 1993 and 94 fashions, you know what I mean? Like where we could see
Yeah.
that, whereas like the uniforms don't show that. Uniforms are just uniforms. But it's
Hmm.
kind of fun to see how they dress up these people. But yeah, her stuff she looked awesome. It's good stuff.
She looked awesome. She looked very awesome. Um, And the other thing I wanted to highlight as well was, the I don't know if this falls under props, but it feels like it was a prop, and that is the coffin that was beamed aboard the Enterprise, that coffin-looking shape thing. Somebody has to design all that stuff. It was the Class A probe. I thought it looked cool. It was like, and I kind of imagine myself like, how difficult would it be to have to be confined in that little thing while
Me
you're flying
too.
around? Yeah, right.
I was like, that gas mask better be putting me to sleep. There's no
Yeah,
way. Can you imagine you're sitting there, you can't move, you're just like lying there, and then
yeah,
like that's it. And then you hope someone finds you within, what was it, 6 hours that thing was floating around? Like, what if they
yeah.
don't? What if they don't? And you're there for like 8 days or 2 weeks. I mean, what?
I don't know. They don't have to bury you because you're already buried. So that's the only good part
Man,
about it.
after
You
like
flying
five
around in
hours,
space.
I would want to be buried. I'd be like, dude, I can't do this. Just lying there. You
Yeah,
can't move. You're just lying there.
yeah,
And with some foam on
yeah.
your face. Oof.
No, that thing has to put you to sleep. It has to. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way that you can survive in that kind of confined space. There's no room to walk around in that thing. I don't even know if you have like um, life life supplies like food or kind of some kind of uh, drip or some kind of hooked up to some kind of drip or something. I don't know what you got
I mean,
going
she
on in
had the
that thing, but
drip. She definitely had the good, cool clothes, but
yeah,
no, there was nothing there. She didn't even have a fanny pack. There was like no room for anything. 89 had some pretty nice fanny packs, so I'll tell you that much.
yeah,
So that would have been cool if we saw in Star Trek some of the people like
yeah.
Kalar showing up with a cool fanny pack. She's like, oh, hang on. Oh, do you need what kind of reverse polarity technique do you? Okay, yeah, I got that right here. Let me get this in my fanny pack here. Okay. That'd be pretty cool,
Yeah,
but nothing like that.
super dated.
That would be.
That would be as dated as you can get.
Uh,
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below, what is the most dated outfit or accessory that somebody had? Maybe there was a fanny pack. I don't think so. But if there was a fanny pack ever once in Star Trek, I feel like that would be the most dated ever. And I would love to see it.
Yeah, I would, off the top of my head, one of the things that I think is dated is the leotard workout outfits that Troy was wearing. Those That was little Jane Fonda back in that time period. Nobody wears that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Or the teased hair.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Oh, well, we got to move into the home run of the day, if you can believe that already. Cirroc, who gets the seventh rule home run of the episode?
I'm going to give the home run to Susie Plaxton, guest starring in this episode, carrying the whole episode, just being a very good match for Worf. Somebody he doesn't get too many opportunities to shine his Klingon stuff and to get into his full character. I thought this was a good opportunity for that, and I thought she did a fantastic job. It's not easy coming on a show and being damn near the lead while you're there. So my hats goes off to Susie Plaxton.
Yeah, and the writers and producers of Star Trek might agree with you because they have cast her as Dr. Solar. 15 episodes later, they cast her again as Dr. Kellar or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Next, she'll be Captain Pilar, and they'll just keep going on. But no, they actually do reuse her, Susie Plaxton, for at least a couple more roles in Star Trek moving forward. But I don't think anything in Deep Space Nine. So I think these are the first two you've seen her as. But we'll talk more about those a bit later. Yeah, I would say she's the home run champion today, although I kind of want to give it to Worf because he hasn't gotten a lot of focus yet. He's gotten a lot of focus in an away mission, but not in a personal way where we're getting to know the actual character. And so I thought that was really cool. So yeah, home run to both of them. And That's what I say. I'm happy for Michael Dorn that, almost 2 full years later, they're like, you guys want to talk about what Worf's life is like? He's like, finally, do something other than weapons ready, sir, or whatever he says.
And it's funny, they did the Worf official troll on Worf in this episode. Susie says something to the effect of, and it fits you well, or something like that. She trolled Worf with his own style of talking. I thought it was hilarious.
Good point. That's good stuff. All right. So let us give thanks to our good friends, Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Titus Mohler, Darlena Marie, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anna Post, Anil O. Polat, Joe Balsarotti, Mike Gu, Dequeue, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, My Live from Tokyo, The Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Allyson Leach-Heid, Julie Manisfee, Marcia Classic Schreier, Gregory K. Wickstrom, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner and Jason the Outrageous Okun. All right. That's it for us, everybody. Stick around. We've got the free-for-all next. Please remember in the comments below to make your suggestions as to what you think is the most dated accessory. This is a really interesting one because there's been a ton. Probably like hippie clothes in the 60s for the original series. That might be it. Anyway, stick around. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton. This is the free-for-all with Melissa Longo.
Hi there.
Look who's here. We have Dr. Mohamed Noor. We've got, finally, right? We've got Allyson Leach-Heid wearing an awesome Seventh Rule sweater. You can get your very own sweater at our Teespring store. It's got a self-sealing stem bolt in the back. The link for that is in the comments below. Click on that and enjoy it. We've got Mai live in Tokyo wearing an awesome purple listener shirt that you can get at theintrovertedrepublic.com. Look, Jason Okun's here, also with a cool background. As always, Dr. Susan V. Gruner has got the Enterprise D. Whoa, she's got a Seventh Rule shirt on too. And it looks amazing. You can get it in a shirt, different sizes, different colors, sweaters. You can get in the pony size if you have a pony. Carrie Schwent is here also. What's up, Carrie? We've got TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri with an Abyssinian kiosk shirt. We've got Gregory Kenzo hanging out, Chris McGee as well, Faith Howell, and the Matt Boardman. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Oh. Well, I can say that I like the title of the episode.
Can't imagine why.
Almost went over my head there for a second.
I'm going to go with a 7.2 on this episode. I think a 7.2 is fair.
Does anybody else have any guesses that doesn't already know? And maybe bump it up for the title. I don't know.
I don't usually like to
bumping it
guess,
up.
but I think at least an 8. Everybody loves Susie Plaxton, so
7.6.
I'm going
Get
9.
rid of a nude bull.
Yeah,
I looked it up.
7.7.
Sue got a 10.
Two.
Wow. And TJ gave a 9.
A 9.
7.6.
Wow.
Sean Bradley was 7.6 as well, if I remember correctly. Well, he never really panned out. All right. All bets are in. It is a 7.5.
Oh, I was one over.
Very
That's
close.
cold.
Were there any non-appearance mentions today? I did not catch any.
Right.
Tell us, Allyson.
One I caught.
2. Waxana and Ian. Troy mentions both her mother and her father.
Very good. Do you concur, Chris?
Yeah.
Yep, that is
Oh,
correct.
true. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, those. All right, Melissa Longo, will you please get us
Yeah.
started on the right track and tell us what you thought of this episode?
I really enjoyed this episode a lot, actually, for several reasons. One of the biggest reasons is that I love that Star Trek never shies away from showing multi-ethnic babies. And being a multi-ethnic baby, I definitely related to the scene with Kilar and Troy, talking about being stuck between cultures. And there's a bit of a duality in multi-ethnic babies' existence, and not just externally, but internally as well. And I think that Susie Plaxton played that very well as Kalar and addressed that very well. One of the quotes that stood out to me was when she's said to Data, "Poor android, whose behavior do you find more perplexing, human or Klingon?" And to me, it felt more like a question for herself and maybe even Worf than it was really for Data, because I think she struggles with that, her human side and her Klingon side, and it's sometimes a challenging existence to live in, because culturally, each culture expects you to claim their culture as your own, but not fully claiming you as their own, because of those foreign elements that you have inside of you. So I really enjoyed that. And another quote that stood out to me was, "I will not be complete without you." And I love that, because Worf is a romantic. and through his poutiness and all of this stuff, at his core, he is a romantic. And you see some of these same character traits when he's with Jadzia as well. There's some very similar relationship traits that he carries through his existence. And final thing I'll say in this segment is that I think that TNG really gets right the exploration of the Klingon culture, and they're exploring their rituals and customs, and it's fun to see them dive into that and how that relates to other cultures that they exist within as well. So I really enjoyed this episode.
Very cool perspective. Thank you very much, Melissa Longo. We've got Dr. Mohamed Noor here, and we are so happy about it. What did you think about this episode?
Thanks. This was a fun one to revisit for a couple of reasons. I agree with Melissa's points. It's nice to see, as you said, multi-ethnic babies. I'm not one, but I guess I've gotten to make two. But more generally, actually, when you think about species, there's an interesting biological aspect to this, because generally speaking, we think of species as groups of individuals who actually cannot interbreed with each other. That's obviously not true to the extreme, because there are species which do interbreed. But it's always interesting that with Star Trek, it just seems like any humanoid could just interbreed with any other humanoid. This was one of the few cases where they made it clear that it's not biologically super easy, because she made this passing comment like their DNA is compatible with some help. It's like, interesting. So there is a reason that Klingon is not just another like subgroup of humans, but it actually is a different species. So I thought that was really nice that got worked in there in a more explicit way that is often true in Star Trek. But overall, fun episode, and Susie Plaxton's always fun to see. I love it when she comes back in Enterprise too, as that Andorian too.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in Voyager as well, right?
Yeah, the female Q.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Allyson Leach-Heid is next. What's up, Allyson? What do you think of this episode?
Hello. I've always liked this episode. It's fun. We get more Klingon culture we get to dive into it, get more of it. So that's always fun. And Kalar has the best costumes in this episode. I love the red costume. I love the pink and black one too. So that's always fun. She's tall, she's powerful, she's funny. Like, I love having Kalar, and I wish we would have had more Kalar than what we do get, but I wish we got more. I thought costumes were on point, because also Admiral Gromik's costume in the beginning, I really liked her Admiral costume. So I thought that was cool. Like, go costumes. I really like those in this one. And anytime we get a little bit overly snarky and sarcastic, makes me happy. I do it myself. So I like to see myself on screen. So enjoy that. And, the episode's entertaining. It moves fast and it's enjoyable. So I've always liked it. Never skip it. Always rewatch this one.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Allyson. Cirroc definitely agrees with you on the wardrobe. He mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Mai is live in Tokyo. What's up, Mai? What did you think of this one?
First, the red bolero that Kalar is wearing when she sits on the console, sort of boob height to Worf's face. I want one. It's amazing. It's in fact, Susie Plaxton is amazing. Just stunning. I mean, color me ever so slightly jealous. Some girls have all the luck. She's great. The next scene, though, is absolutely made for Justin and me to enjoy. I hope Justin watches this free for all. The scene where Kalar is walking out of the meeting with Worf, she's steaming mad, and the strains of Love Reign O'er Me from the movie and album Quadrophenia by The Who starts playing and getting louder and louder. I mean, she's clearly a woman scorned and annoyed as hell. Love has her firmly in its grip. It's reigning over her like a dominatrix. She enters her quarters, and the crescendo in the song when Roger Daltrey shouts, "Love!" is when she screams and smashes the glass table. And her scream is even, which sounds a little bit like the word love. So just absolutely subliminal and perfect. In fact, my background is a shot from the movie when the main character is walking on the beach in Brighton where the action takes place. It's a gray dawn morning, gray dawn, and he's all kinds of heartbroken. So what I did is I superimposed on him an image of Kalar that I took from the scene where she, after the argument, where she's coming out of the turbolift to go to her quarters. And that's what that is. And the colors are the Who colors. So yeah. Anyway, Justin, this is for you. I absolutely love this blending of Star Trek and the Who. And then after their calisthenics, I wonder why she's so hesitant to formalize their relationship. I mean, she clearly has a look of fear of something. And I think maybe it's her sense that she would lose her freedom or the life that she's achieved as an individual. She seems to show that she wants him in a modern sense, but not to the extent that she loses her individuality. I don't think this is a Klingon or human issue that, as she says initially. I think this was designed to show the evolution of the dreams and successes that women were enjoying more and more in the late 80s. I mean, just a great episode, all the feels, and just adds fuel to the fire of the Call for a Worf series.
Thank you, Mai. You always brighten the show for us. Thank you. Jason, the outrageous Okun, hated that joke. He's not even sure it was a joke. What did you think of this episode?
Oh, Ryan, as I said, I don't have a sense of humor, so I don't find anything funny. Or I find everything funny. Define it as you want. I guess I'll pick up on what Allyson said. I've always enjoyed this one. It moves really, really fast. I think it's, again, one of the faster paced ones. And frankly, it moves even fast, even though it seems like Cliff Bole wants to slow it down. I felt a little stapled to my seat very, very often, just looking at it. And I'll, save a lot of this kind of stuff for later. But again, I think because it moves so fast, you can kind of forgive that if you don't pay too much attention to it. I think, certainly Susie Plaxton's performance is terrific. And frankly, whenever Michael gets to do something a little bit more, it's great. And I think I've said it before, in terms of character development, Worf gets more than anybody else, certainly in the first two seasons. If you look, you get into his background, he gets a lot more than any other character. And it's wonderful to see Michael do his thing. it's certainly great to see. I mean, typically you certainly get a good guest cast, and Susie, does pretty well. I was a little put off by Lance de Gaul's performance, and frankly, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, was Jorgen Johnson. I think she was a little stiff, but maybe that's just my perception of that little scene that she did. Maybe it's a little bit hard to do because you're probably sitting by yourself in front of, with some little bit of a background in the corner of a soundstage with, scoop supervisor feeding you lines. So I think she was, a little stiff. But overall, again, I think it moves pretty fast. It gives us a little bit of Klingons, and again, I'll save some of it for later. But overall, I think it's a fun hour. Makes up for some of the other stuff we've seen over the last few weeks.
Great stuff. Thanks very. TJ's like, that's why I wasn't here. Thanks very much, Jason. Dr. Susan V. Gruner, what's up? What did you think of this episode?
I love it. And I've got like 10 pages of notes that I cannot ever say everything. I love the music. By the way, she's 6'2". So she is a very tall woman. I love the way they started it with the crew playing poker. I always love that. It shows their relationship stelling. I love the Klingon relationships. I loved her hair. And who is it that has her in the background where you can see her hair? Where do we see that little braid? Oh, Melissa. She has the little braids in the side of her hair. Where do we see that again? I thought about her luggage or lack thereof, which is a silly thing, and that little thing that she was in that is capable of going warp 9. And I thought, so she must have. How did she make those clothes? I guess with the replicator, or I mean, how did she get those cool clothes? Because she certainly didn't have them in her little warp 9 vehicle thing. The only thing I wrote negative about her outfits was that why do they always have to go so tight? But anyway, it was the 80s. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I love everything about this episode. I think it's awesome. She's awesome. Their relationship is awesome. It's sad. It's happy. And we'll see her again. Not to give away too much.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. All right, everybody, here comes Carrie Schwent. She's going to tear this episode apart. What do you think of it?
I love this episode a lot. I will add to the love fest of Susie Plaxton in a moment, but I will highlight the 3 other little minor guest stars. Jason mentioned one of them, the woman that played the Admiral. I love her because she is Dr. Mike's mom on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. And she's a little bit stiff in that role too, so I think that's just kind of how she acts. But the woman sitting at the helm, we've seen her before, and I think it was Elementary Dear Data. She was the woman in engineering who's from A League of Their Own, and the guy standing at Worf's position back there. I forgot to write down his name, but he's Drew Carey's friend on the Drew Carey show. And in a couple episodes of Bones, he is absolutely an hysterical actor, and just a very neat sort of voice to him too. I love Worf's plan for the tongue. I thought it was absolutely genius and very well done. No. And Kayla, she just sits there and doesn't say anything, but she looks great in the Klingon uniform, and Worf just pulls it off beautifully. I love Kayla and Deanna's little sort of female friendship. We don't get nearly enough scenes like that. And yeah, Deanna becomes kind of Captain Obvious when she walks in after Kayla smashes the table, which just cracks me up every time I watch it. She just plays it so straight, and then they sort of laugh about it afterwards. But Susie, I love Susie. Just about everything. She has such a neat voice, just that deep, very very much excellent as a Klingon type voice. My husband and I both sincerely hope to meet her in person someday, because there's story for another day, but we owe her a very deep apology, and a couple of you have heard me tell this story before. So, but yeah, she is awesome, and she's fantastic also on Voyager. But I loved something that Worf said when they were in the holodeck hanging out afterwards. He says something along the lines of that humor is used as a tool to talk a lot, but not say very much. I liked that, and it sort of became the inspiration for this week's poetry reading. So here we go. Humor is often used as a tool to make the speaker feel less like a fool. Is it better to say all the thoughts that come your way, or keep it simple and not lose your cool? I tried to work her response to that in there a little bit, but it's fun. And apologies for my crappy voice. I was at a concert a couple days ago. The t-shirt from that. It always takes me a few days for voice. The worse my voice is, the better the concert is. And this band I highly recommend. Very much. They're hard rock kind of metal.
All right. Great stuff. Thanks very much, Carrie. Rest up that voice. TJ Jackson-Bey is here. Took a few weeks off because he's like, those episodes were boring, but this one is his favorite. What do you think of this one?
Howdy. Oh yeah, this episode is pretty good. It was nice to revisit it. And I don't think anytime that I watched it before that I paid as much attention to really what's going on between Worf and Kalar. Yeah, I saw it, but I saw it a little bit different this time, with a little bit different understanding, to where Kalar is like this kind of like free spirit, and she's made her own way in life, and she's because she's had to kind of come from two different cultures. She's just chosen to make her own. She's Kalar, and that's her. And Worf, on the other hand, he also has a background with two cultures. Yeah, he's a full Klingon, but he was raised by humans. But he's the opposite. He's trying so hard to be Klingon that he can't see straight. He can't see anything else. It's like tunnel vision. And so, he's so committed to taking this oath, and she's like, so like, no, I'm doing my own thing. Like we're not going to do that just because culture says we have to. And so, I thought that was really interesting, dynamic, and an interesting story to tell when it was told, and an interesting story to tell now. One of my favorite lines is when she walks in and tells Worf, "We're alone now. You don't have to act like a Klingon glacier." Because she's trying to break him out of that shell. That's her whole thing in this episode, is like, I love you, but loosen up just a little bit. And let's just be us. We don't have to do, all of that stuff just because, of a world that, neither one of us is really fully from. And so it's like, just drop the act, and Worf doubles down 100% because that's who he is. And both of them are just fine. That's okay, because they're both exploring who they are. And that's why I enjoyed this episode so much. I'll save more for later.
Great stuff, TJ. Thank you very much. We've got Greg Kenzo here. He's got a smirk in his and a sparkle in his eye. Something crazy is about to happen. What do you think of this episode, Greg?
I love this episode, just like everybody else. Nothing too special, I guess. It was just fun. There's so much that I could say about it, but I'll just start with the Kalar Worf story is beautiful. I think it's better on the first time you watch it, because this is like the third time I've seen it, and you know what's going to happen at the end, right? So like when you first see it, I said this last time, it's always better on the first one, but everybody loves their Star Trek rewatches, and this is no exception. It holds up. Let me see. I loved when Worf was in the captain's chair. And they set that up beautifully by having him playing poker in the beginning, right? And he was able to bluff and win everybody. And then at the end, he bluffed the other guy. This is pretty obvious stuff. I'm sure everybody picked that up. But yeah, other than that, I wanted to say I agree with Melissa on multicultural people. I mean, I'm a Hathi, or as we say in Hawaii, Papa, which means half, I'm pretty sure, or multicultural. Anyway, I thought it was beautiful. There was a beautiful scene with Troy and Kalar where they kind of give both perspectives. Troy says she finds the best in both cultures. And then Kalar says, well, I see, like, I'm rejected from both, or I don't fit into either. And I've kind of had both experiences. I feel like it varies depending on where you are. Like in Hawaii, it's a melting pot. We have so many people of multicultural ethnicity here. It's like I don't stand out at all. People think I'm like Hawaiian. I can go down the list. But when I lived in California, I would get all these other races, and it's funny because I had a lot of Asian friends and white friends, and all across the board, but you never really feel like you're 100% one way or 100% the other. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. I think it's easier now for papas because in the past, you really had to choose one or the other, right? And I think that's what Kalar is kind of getting at when she says that. And Troy it's like the newer thing. Troy, she's multicultural, but it's less obvious, and so that sometimes helps too. Well, helps is maybe the wrong word, but yeah. I think it varies, and this isn't even on the episode, but okay. Last thing, Suzie Plakson, amazing. She's like an old Hollywood actress, and sometimes in the way that she talks, let me see. The philosophy, I guess I could say, from this episode, that I really like talking about philosophy, as you can tell. Worf says there are always options in my experience, and there's always a way to take more than one solution, and he finds that. And I think that's a really important thing to, keep in mind, I should say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Thank you very much. And aloha, Greg.
Aloha.
Chris McGee, the Dark Lord, is here. What's up, Chris McGee? What did you think of this episode?
I can't disagree with everyone else here. It is one of my favorites, although this is not the emissary we're looking for, or at least not the one we all know and love, which is not to say that we don't love Suzie Plakson. It's great to see the poker night again. As Sue and Greg commented, Worf's comment, Klingons never bluff, of course, foreshadows the climax of the episode. One thing I thought was a little interesting was when the Admiral was telling Picard what to expect. She says, once the envoy has briefed you, I think you'll understand our caution. No, I still don't understand it. I don't understand the secrecy and the caution. This could have been an email. As for the story of the Klingons being in cryostasis or cryosleep, whatever, and waking up to a completely different universe or galaxy at least, it reminds me, strangely enough, of a little story from one of my old favorite video games from the 90s called Privateer 2: The Darkening. Don't hate me. Wherein there's one planet, sometime before like faster than light travel was invented in this universe, the FTL travel, a colony ship was dispatched from a planet called Hephaestus. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. on the 119-year journey that separated the two planets that went in the one they wanted to colonize at the time called Bex. Unfortunately for the colonists, FTL drive was invented some 70 years after they left. And so the expectant settlers landed on the planet only to find that another group of settlers had arrived 30 years previously, their journey having taken a mere 4 weeks. So that sets up some comedy in that game. But without spoiling anything in this episode, I'll just say that the seed has been planted for many future episodes.
Hey, that's a good one.
And of course, I'm sure this is everyone's favorite memorable quote of the episode. Some calisthenics programs are better than others.
Oh, yeah. Thanks very much, Chris McGee, the jokester. We've got the Matt Boardman. What's up, the?
Listen, that is reserved for private moments. No, in the holodeck. No.
Calisthenics.
Calisthenics. How much fun is this episode? Like, this is, as everybody else has said, this is just really a fantastic episode. As I was watching it this time, I kind of had this perspective on Worf that I guess I haven't really thought about before. Worf to me is he's one of those guys that really loves a particular culture, but has only read about it in a book. And so it's he's kind of defined these set of rules for what it means. And we get this throughout, Klingons don't do this, Klingons don't do that. And forget which episode it is later on where, he's talking with Guinan and he says, well, Klingons don't do this. And she's like, no, Klingons do. It was laughing or something like that. And she's like, no, Klingons laugh. You just don't laugh. And so I, this whole thing when he has this moment with Kalar in the holodeck and now he's like, okay, well, according to what I've read, now it's we are mated for life. We're, this is it. And so he starts doing that. And Kalar's when she had her adverse reaction to it, which I agree was probably, very much okay, this was great. This was wonderful. But there needs to be a little bit more to this than this is a matter of honor, you're talking about life-changing things. And that's one of the things I love about Star Trek is it, these are actually things that may exist out in our real world. And we shine a lens on it here, which I think is, that's where Star Trek always, to me, is in its greatest is being able to examine humanity and different cultures and different upbringings. I mean, we all come from different backgrounds and we have different beliefs and trying to meld those two and, especially, and it gets especially complicated when it comes to relationships. And I love Worf when things don't go as well as he planned, and then Picard's he comes out onto the bridge and he's just moody as all get out, right? And then Picard is Mr. Worf, you need to relax. I am relaxed. That's kind of we've all had those moments where that's not, whatever's happening is outwardly affecting us. And then one last thing about Suzie Plakson, got the chance to meet her back in 2008 at STLV, and she's absolutely wonderful, and she is just as hilarious. You see, there's a lot of Suzie in a lot of her performance. And in fact, when I walked up to her table in the dealer's room, she had a little acrylic with a printed paper on there. And it was a list of all the questions that she gets asked all the time. And number one on her list was, how tall is Suzie Plakson?
And the answer was 6'2", right?
The answer was 6'2". I was like, hey, you want to go play some ball?
Amazing.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Matt Boardman. Faith Howell is here. What is up, Faith? And what did you think of this episode?
So like everybody has said, it's a great episode. I won't put it maybe in my top 5, but it is definitely a memorable one. And Suzie Plakson, because she reprises so many different roles throughout all of Trek, is a household name for sure in my house. And a couple of things in this episode made me draw back to our old favorite DS9. Specifically the episode where she comes in and Worf is working, and her whole persona is like, look at me, and he's just like, you're late. It's like, sorry, I had to make myself beautiful. Made me think about the scene where Worf and Jadzia are sparring on the holodeck, and he razzes her about dressing for him. Kalar was definitely dressing for him, so you see where he gets his history there. And I know this is working a little time paradox, but I wore this shirt specifically today because we had a very Shaw-esque no from Picard today, and I loved it.
That's true.
Where was that? Where did that no come in?
When they were at the in the discussion lounge, and they're talking about their plan for destroying this Klingon ship. Oh, sorry. And Kalar says, there's just no other way. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to overcome their programming. And Picard just goes, no. She goes, no? Yeah, we're going to figure it out. So very, very Federation moment there. We're going to be diplomatic. We're going to figure out how to not murder these people who have been in stasis or whatever for however long. We're going to figure it out. And so I thought that spoke to the Federation as an organization and how we're going to use our skills and our knowledge to overcome any challenge that comes to us. So
thank you very much, Faith Howell. We appreciate you. Good knowledge there. Cirroc, Jake's final take. Any final thoughts?
I think that this episode dealt with a lot of themes that are constantly being brought up. One of those themes is tradition versus a more progressive way of looking at things. And that's one of the polarities that we see at play in this episode, with Worf trying to hold on to a lot of the Klingon tradition, and this Kalar being a more progressive person who's trying to find their own identity outside of the labels of the group. It's also, that's the other battle that we see, is more a group identity versus an individual identity. And I think those themes are very good when you play on them. I thought it was well done. Worf finally met somebody that can really give him something to act on and showcase his abilities. Definitely love Susie in this episode. She really stole the show, and her face and her eyes are really, captivating when you're watching her perform. I think she was captivating even before when she played the Vulcan doctor in the past. The camera really loves her face, and she is just somebody that you gravitate towards when you're watching her. The other thing I thought is consistent is that Worf likes tall women. This woman is tall, and we know that Dax is also tall, so that's another consistency there as far as what he's attracted to. So I love this episode. And lastly, I also realized how young Miles O'Brien is in this episode. I don't know if there's a shot that he got. Yeah, I was like, wow, this guy's really super young.
And his little haircut too, with it so tight and cute. Yeah.
Yeah. So
cute.
So to see him so he's skinny and young, and I'm just like, wow, this is really, the early stages of Colin on this show, and he's really made a name for himself. I mean, it kind of reminds me almost of, we talked about Nog's journey, going from just the low man on the totem pole to such a high important figure in the show. And I feel like O'Brien has done that for himself in the course of these series, making himself from just the background guy, the one line transporter guy, to somebody who we all kind of know and feel like we have a connection to. So credit to him for really building a way for his character to make, to make us all feel special, and watch his growth is really a special thing. So that's my final take on it.
Great stuff. Everybody, before we go, our good buddy Scott Jensen had a little request for Matt Boardman. He asks, the Matt Boardman, so sorry. He says, I did want to ask the Matt Boardman if he could go back and reanimate those Klingons that were asleep since the war as Discovery Klingons. I'm sure that would make the fan base sing. What song? I don't know, but they would sing.
Gotta be K-pop.
War songs.
Matt could do it, no doubt. All right, everybody.
Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing.
Yeah.
If you shouldn't do it, that's when you really should. So, thank you to Melissa, Allyson, Mai, Jason, Sue, Carrie, the Matt, Chris, Greg, TJ, Faith, and Dr. Mohamed Noor. For myself, Cirroc, Melissa, and Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. We appreciate all of you and want to see you next time on The Seventh Rule.